They used to laugh. His twin daughters Lily and Lauren used to fill the house with joy. Now they barely spoke. Something was destroying them from the inside, and Robert Johnson needed to know what. So he did the unthinkable. He told his fiancée he was leaving the country for a month, then disguised himself as the new gardener. On his first morning back, he heard screaming from inside the house. He walked toward the sound. What he saw through that doorway shattered every belief he'd ever held about the woman he was going to marry. Robert's hands were shaking as he knocked on the service entrance at 6 a.m. A young woman answered. Deborah Thompson, the housemaid. She had warm eyes and a gentle smile that felt like the first honest thing he'd seen in weeks. "You must be Ray," she said kindly. "Gomain." Robert kept his head down, his voice rough and weathered. "Morning, ma'am." "Just Deborah is fine." She walked him through the estate grounds, showing him the gardens, the fountain, the tool shed. Her voice carried real warmth, not the performative kind people use when they want something. "The last gardener left suddenly," she said quietly. "No warning. Just stopped coming." Robert filed that away. Had the previous gardener seen something too? "I'll take good care of the place," he said. Deborah smiled softly. "I believe you will." As they walked back toward the main house, she paused. The girls, Lily and Lauren, they used to love playing in the garden. Their mother would bring them out here before she... Her voice faltered. Before she passed. Robert's throat tightened. "I'll keep it beautiful for them." Deborah looked at him with something like gratitude. "Thank you." Around 8 a.m., Tracy appeared on the terrace. Silk robe, perfectly styled hair, coffee cup in hand. She looked down at him like he was dirt beneath her designer heels. "So you're the new gardener," she said coldly. Robert kept his eyes on the ground. "Yes, ma'am." "Let's hope you're more competent than the last one. These hedges are a disaster." "I'll fix them, ma'am." She turned and walked back inside without another word. Robert exhaled slowly. "She doesn't recognize me. Not even close." He worked in silence for the next hour, trimming hedges near the side of the house, pulling weeds, staying alert, listening. Then he heard it. A voice, sharp, venomous, cutting through the morning air. Robert set down his tools and moved toward the sound. The living room. He stepped up to the doorway. What he saw made time stop. Tracy stood in the center of the room, towering over Lily. His daughter's small body pressed against the couch, her hands trembling, her eyes wide with raw terror. Tracy grabbed the wooden puppet from Lily's hands, the one her late mother had given her, and held it above her head. "I told you to clean up before breakfast." Tracy's voice dripped with ice and fury. "Are you stupid or just defiant?" "I forgot, Miss Tracy," Lily whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix anything." Tracy yanked the toy away. "Your father works himself to death for you. And you can't follow one simple rule?" Across the room, Lauren sat frozen on the couch, staring down at her lap, barely breathing. "Look at me when I'm speaking to you," Tracy hissed. Lily lifted her chin, her whole body shaking. "That's better. Now get upstairs. Both of you. No breakfast. Maybe hunger will teach you to think." The twins fled up the stairs, holding hands, moving like silent ghosts. And then Deborah appeared. She didn't hesitate. She stepped between Tracy and the staircase, her body positioned protectively, her voice calm but firm. "They're just children, Miss Jones." Tracy spun toward her, eyes blazing. "Stay in your lane, Deborah. You're the help, not their mother." "Neither are you," Deborah said quietly. For a moment, the room held its breath. Tracy's face twisted with rage, but she turned and walked away, leaving the puppet on the floor like trash. Robert stood frozen in the doorway, his chest collapsing, his vision blurred with tears. He'd suspected something was wrong. But seeing it, watching his daughters live in fear, witnessing them treated like prisoners in their own home, shattered something deep inside him. He wanted to scream, to tear off the fake beard, to charge inside and end this nightmare right now. But he couldn't. Not yet. He needed more. He needed proof. He needed the world to see what he was seeing. So he stepped back from the doorway, picked up his tools, and kept working. But his hands wouldn't stop shaking. And deep inside, something cold and unbreakable settled into place. This is going to end soon. Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Because if you've ever felt powerless watching someone you love suffer, if you've ever had to fight for someone who couldn't fight for themselves, this story is for you. Sometimes we have to become invisible to see the truth. Stay with me. 20 minutes later, Deborah came outside carrying 2 small sandwiches wrapped in napkins. She glanced toward the upstairs windows, then slipped back inside through the side entrance. Robert repositioned quietly. Through the window, he watched Deborah enter the twins' room. She handed them the sandwiches, whispered something he couldn't hear. Lily hugged Deborah's waist. Deborah stroked her hair, her face full of pain and love. Robert's throat burned. This woman, this stranger, is protecting my daughters. While he stood outside, helpless, watching through glass. That evening, back in his hotel room across town, Robert sat on the edge of the bed. He pulled off the fake beard slowly. His skin was raw underneath. He stared at the recordings on his phone. Tracy's voice, cold and clear. Your father works himself to death for you, and you can't follow one simple rule? He played it again. And again. Each word burned deeper. His phone buzzed. A text from Tracy. Missing you, darling. The girls are being so good. You'd be so proud. Robert's hands curled into fists. He typed back. That's wonderful. Keep up the great work. Then he set the phone down and stared at the wall. 3 more weeks. 3 more weeks of watching his daughters suffer. 3 more weeks of being invisible. But when those 3 weeks were over, Tracy Jones would learn what happened when you hurt a billionaire's children, and underestimate the maid who stood between them and destruction. By day 3, Robert had stopped flinching at the sound of Tracy's voice. Not because it hurt less, but because he'd learned to channel the rage into something colder. Something patient. That morning, he was working near the kitchen garden when he heard it again. The voice that haunted his sleep. Lily, get down here. Now. Robert moved closer to the window, his hands gripping the pruning shears so tightly his knuckles turned white. Inside, Tracy stood in the hallway, arms crossed, face twisted with contempt. Lily descended the stairs slowly, clutching her wooden puppet, the one her mother had carved by hand years ago. I told you to put that filthy thing away, Tracy snapped. But Mama gave it to me. Tracy snatched it from Lily's hands. Your mama isn't here anymore. And if she could see how clumsy and useless you've become, she'd be ashamed. Lily's face crumpled. Robert's vision blurred red. Then Deborah appeared. She stepped between them, her voice calm but steel-edged. Miss Jones, she's 6 years old. Tracy's eyes narrowed. And you're just a maid. So unless you want to join the unemployment line, I suggest you remember your place. Deborah didn't move. My place is taking care of this family. This family doesn't include you. The air crackled with tension. Finally, Tracy tossed the puppet onto a side table and walked away, heels clicking against marble. Deborah knelt immediately, pulling Lily into her arms. You're not useless, sweetheart. You hear me? You're brave and kind and loved. Lauren appeared at the top of the stairs, watching in silence. Robert stood outside the window, every muscle in his body screaming to burst through the door. But he couldn't. Not yet. He pulled out his phone and began recording. An hour later, Tracy left for her spa appointment. The moment her car disappeared down the driveway, Deborah moved. She went to the kitchen, made 2 peanut butter sandwiches, poured 2 glasses of milk, and carried them upstairs on a tray. Robert watched from the garden as she knocked softly on the twins' door. Through the second-floor window, he saw his daughters' faces light up, the first genuine smiles he'd seen in weeks. Deborah sat with them while they ate, brushing Lauren's hair, helping Lily fix her puppet's wooden arm. She was more than a maid. She was their lifeline. Robert recorded it all. The cruelty, the threats, the hunger used as punishment. and the quiet heroism of a woman who had no legal obligation to these children, but chose to shield them anyway. That night, back in his hotel room, Robert played the footage again. Tracy's voice, clumsy and useless. Lily's tears. Deborah's defiance. He saved every file, backed them up 3 times, and made a promise to the screen. Soon, Tracy. Very soon. Robert arrived before sunrise and left after dark. The estate's gardens had never looked better, but that wasn't why he stayed. He worked near windows, beneath terraces, close enough to hear everything. On day 5, while trimming roses outside Tracy's office, he heard her voice through the cracked window. "Darling, trust me, once we're married, those girls will fall in line." She laughed, cold and sharp. "Right now they're spoiled little princesses. But I know exactly how to reshape them. Robert won't even recognize them when he gets back." A pause. Then, "Of course it's about the money. You think I'd put up with 2 whiny brats otherwise? But once I'm Mrs. Johnson, I'll have access to everything." Robert's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. He hit record. Inside, the pattern became sickeningly clear. Every morning, Tracy found something to criticize. The twins walked too slowly, spoke too softly, breathed too loudly, and every time Deborah appeared, she'd kneel beside them after Tracy stormed off, braiding their hair, whispering that they were good and kind and loved. One afternoon, Robert watched through the laundry room window as Lily clung to Deborah's waist, sobbing. "I miss Mama," Lily whispered. "And Miss Tracy scares me." Deborah held her tighter. "I know, sweetheart. I know." "Will she hurt us?" "Not while I'm here," Deborah promised. "Never while I'm here." That evening, Robert saw Deborah by the trash bins. She reached inside and pulled out a stuffed rabbit, Lauren's favorite, the one their mother had given her. Tracy had thrown it away that morning, calling it ratty garbage. Deborah brushed it off, kissed its worn head, and carried it back inside. Robert stood in the shadows, his chest tight. This woman doesn't know me, doesn't know these children are mine, but she's protecting them like they're her own. He'd come here trusting no one, but Deborah was changing that. And slowly, a new plan began forming. When this ends, she stays. Whatever it takes. It happened on day 7. Robert was clearing dead leaves from the patio when he heard glass shatter. Then screaming. He dropped everything and ran toward the sound. Inside the living room, a crystal figurine lay in pieces on the floor. Lily stood frozen beside it, her face white with terror. Tracy's eyes blazed with fury. "You clumsy little." She spun toward the kitchen, her heels hammering against the floor. Robert's heart stopped. She returned seconds later, gripping a wooden spoon like a weapon. "I have had enough of you." Tracy lunged toward Lily, arm raised. Deborah moved like lightning. She intercepted Tracy mid-stride, grabbing the spoon with both hands. "Let go!" Tracy shrieked, yanking hard. "Not while I'm breathing!" Deborah shouted back, her knuckles white around the wood. They struggled violently, Tracy pulling, Deborah holding firm, both their faces twisted with effort and rage. On the couch, Lily and Lauren clung to each other, screaming, tears streaming down their faces. Robert stood paralyzed in the doorway. His hands flew up in shock, his entire body trembling with the effort not to tear across that room and rip Tracy apart with his bare hands. "Not yet. Not yet. Not. You're fired." Tracy screamed at Deborah. "Then fire me." Deborah wrenched the spoon free and threw it across the room. "But I'm not letting you touch these children." Tracy stumbled backward, chest heaving, mascara running. For a moment, she looked at Deborah with pure hatred. Then she turned and stormed upstairs. Deborah immediately dropped to her knees, pulling both twins into her arms. "I've got you," she whispered, rocking them. "I've got you. You're safe." Robert stepped back from the doorway, his phone recording everything, his hands shaking so violently he could barely hold it. Evidence wasn't enough anymore. Tracy Jones needed to be destroyed. Publicly. Completely. And he knew exactly how to do it. It happened 2 days after the spoon incident. Robert was replanting roses near the side garden when Deborah stepped outside. Arms crossed, eyes sharp. "Ray Walker," she said quietly. "That's not your real name, is it?" Robert's hands stilled in the soil. "You watch those girls differently," Deborah continued, moving closer. "Not like a gardener. Like someone who knows them. Like someone who—" She stopped. Stared hard at his face. Then her eyes widened. "Oh my God." Robert slowly stood, pulling off his work gloves. Deborah's hand flew to her mouth. "Mr. Johnson?" He nodded once. "But you're supposed to be in." Her voice cracked. "Why are you?" "Because my daughters stopped smiling," Robert said, his voice raw. "Because they flinched every time I came home. Because Tracy swore everything was fine, but my instincts screamed otherwise." Deborah's eyes filled with tears. "You came back to see for yourself. And I saw everything." Robert's jaw tightened. "I saw what she does to them. What she was going to keep doing. And I saw you. Standing between her and my children when no one else would." "They're just babies," Deborah whispered. I couldn't just let her." "I know." Robert's voice broke. "And I owe you more than I can ever repay." They stood in silence, the weight of shared knowledge settling between them. "Why didn't you stop her immediately?" Deborah finally asked. "Because stopping her once isn't enough. I need the world to see who she really is. I need proof that destroys her completely, so she can never touch them again." Deborah nodded slowly, understanding dawning. "How much longer?" "The engagement party. 2 weeks." Robert's eyes hardened. "She's planning a grand showcase, the perfect future stepmother. That's when we expose everything." If you're willing." Deborah met his gaze, fierce determination replacing fear. "For Lily and Lauren? I'll do whatever it takes." They shook hands in the fading sunlight. Allies now. Protectors both. 10 days before the engagement party, Tracy's mask began to crack. She obsessed over every detail. The flowers, the guest list, the twins' matching dresses. And the speech. "Again," Tracy commanded, standing over Lily and Lauren in the library. From the top. With feeling this time. The twins stood side by side, hands clasped, voices trembling. "We are so happy," Lily began, "that Miss Tracy is becoming our new mother." "Stop." Tracy's voice cut like ice. "You sound like you're reading a hostage note." "Smile. Mean it." Lauren's lip quivered. "But we don't." Tracy's hand slammed against the desk. "You don't what? Want a mother who actually disciplines you? Who turns you into proper young ladies instead of whiny brats?" Both girls flinched. "You're trying to embarrass me," Tracy hissed. "In front of everyone who matters. Is that what you want? To make me look like a fool?" "No, Miss Tracy," they whispered in unison. Outside the window, Robert stood motionless, phone recording, tears streaming down his face. That evening, Deborah found him in the tool shed. "She's getting worse," Deborah said quietly. "More paranoid. More volatile. I'm afraid of what she might do before the party." "I know." Robert's voice was hollow. "But we're so close. If we move now, she'll claim it's fabricated. We need witnesses. We need her to destroy herself publicly. And if she hurts them before then?" Robert met her eyes. "Then I drop the disguise and end this immediately. But until that moment comes, we hold." Deborah nodded, though fear shadowed her face. Late that night, Robert slipped into the twins' darkened bedroom. They were asleep, holding hands across the gap between their beds. He knelt between them, whispering into the quiet. "Just a little more, my brave girls. I'm here. I've always been here. And very soon this nightmare ends." Lily stirred, murmuring "Daddy," in her sleep. Robert kissed her forehead. "Always, baby. Always." 3 days left. The estate glittered with wealth and prestige. 200 guests filled the manicured gardens. Tech moguls, socialites, venture capitalists. Everyone who mattered in Robert Johnson's world. And at the center of it all stood Tracy Jones, radiant in ivory silk, playing her role to perfection. "I'm so blessed," she cooed to a cluster of admirers. To be joining this beautiful family. Those precious girls have stolen my heart completely. Across the garden, disguised in his gardener uniform, Robert moved between guests with trays of champagne. No one looked twice at the hired help. His phone recorded everything from his shirt pocket. The moment arrived. "Ladies and gentlemen," Tracy announced, her voice honey-sweet. "I'd like to invite my future daughters to share a few words." Lily and Lauren ascended the small stage, matching blue dresses, faces pale with terror. The crowd smiled, cameras ready. "Go on, darlings," Tracy urged, her smile wide and brittle. Lauren opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Lily tried. We are so." She stuttered. Stopped. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Tracy's smile cracked at the edges. She moved closer, gripping Lauren's wrist. Hard. "Say it," she hissed under her breath, teeth still bared in a grotesque smile. "Now." Lauren's eyes filled with tears. Lily's voice broke completely. Murmurs rippled through the guests. Cameras lowered. Something felt wrong. Deborah appeared at the side of the stage, rushing forward. "Girls, it's okay. Stay back." Tracy snapped, her mask slipping. "They need to finish. Miss Jones, they're frightened. They're embarrassing me." The crowd gasped. Tracy realized too late what she'd said. Her face flushed crimson. Lauren turned toward the refreshments table, reaching for water with shaking hands. The glass tipped. Juice cascaded down Tracy's pristine dress. And everything exploded. It happened in seconds. Lauren, trembling on stage beside her sister, reached for a glass of juice with shaking hands. It slipped. Cold liquid splashed across Tracy's cream designer dress. The crowd gasped. Tracy's face transformed, elegant composure shattering into raw fury. "You clumsy little." She lunged toward Lauren, grabbing her wrist violently. "Miss Tracy, please," Lily cried out. Tracy spun toward the refreshments table, snatching a wooden serving spoon from a platter. She raised it high. The crowd froze in horror. Deborah launched herself between Tracy and the twins, arms spread wide. "Don't you dare." Cameras lifted. Phones appeared. Gasps rippled through the guests. Tracy's arm trembled in midair, her perfect facade crumbling before 200 witnesses. And then a voice cut through the chaos. "I've been here the whole time, Tracy." Every head turned. A figure stepped forward from the crowd. The gardener, Ray Walker, pulling off his fake beard, peeling away brown contact lenses to reveal piercing blue eyes. Robert Johnson stood before them all. Tracy's face drained of color. "Robert, no, you don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly." Robert held up his phone. "I've understood everything for 3 weeks." He pressed play. Tracy's voice boomed through the garden speakers. "Those spoiled little princesses. I know exactly how to reshape them. You think I'd put up with 2 whiny brats otherwise? You're clumsy and useless. Your mother would be ashamed." The crowd erupted. Horrified gasps, angry murmurs, the click-click-click of camera shutters. That's edited lies." Tracy stumbled backward. 37 recordings," Robert said coldly. 17 witnesses. And security footage from every angle. He turned to his head of security. "Escort Miss Jones off the property. Immediately." "You can't do this," Tracy screamed as guards approached. "I'll sue you. I'll destroy you. Try." Robert's voice was ice. "See what happens when you threaten a father's children." Security dragged her away, her screams echoing across the stunned garden. Robert turned. His daughters ran into his arms. Finally safe. Finally home. The garden fell silent except for the twins' sobs. Robert knelt on the grass, gathering Lily and Lauren into his arms. They clung to him like lifelines, their small bodies shaking with relief and exhaustion. "You're safe now," he whispered, kissing their heads. "I promise you're safe. She's never coming back. Never." "You didn't leave us?" Lily choked out between sobs. "I never left, baby girl. I was watching. I was always watching. I just needed to make sure she could never hurt you again." Lauren pulled back, tears streaming. We thought you didn't know. I know everything now. Robert's voice broke. And I'm so sorry you had to be brave for so long. Then Lily turned, reaching toward Deborah, who stood several feet away, tears streaming down her face. Deborah. Lily broke from Robert's arms and ran to her. Lauren followed immediately. They wrapped themselves around her waist. Please don't leave us, Lauren begged. Please stay. Deborah looked at Robert over their heads, uncertainty and hope warring in her expression. Robert stood slowly, walking toward them. Deborah Thompson, he said quietly, I'm not asking you to stay as a maid. I'm asking you to stay as someone who saved my family when I couldn't. Someone who stood between darkness and my daughters. Someone they love, and someone I trust with the most precious things in my life. Deborah's hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling freely. Will you stay? Robert asked. Not because you work here, but because you belong here. Yes, Deborah whispered. Yes. Always. 3 months later. Sunlight filtered through the trees as Lily and Lauren knelt in the garden soil beside Deborah, planting tulip bulbs. Mama loved tulips, Lily said softly. Then we'll plant a whole garden of them, Deborah replied, brushing dirt from Lauren's nose. So she can see them from heaven. Robert watched from the patio, coffee in hand, peace settling into his chest for the first time in years. The scars would take time to heal. But here, in this garden, with laughter returning and trust slowly rebuilding, they were finally home.